I've never really liked the idea of balance. Not in life, not in work. It's always rubbed me a little wrong. And I'm not saying I don't think that having some type of rest is bad. Just ask my family. I mean, look at where I am now. But balance to me always meant stagnation. It always meant mediocrity, because when I was growing up, I feel like people said, hey, you need to be a little more balanced. Like it was some type of maturity that needed to grow in you. And really, I just felt like it was people trying to stifle my passion. And I didn't really like that, because all the people that I saw telling me to be balanced, I didn't want their lives. I didn't want to emulate them. And so I thought, I don't like that. I like being zealous. I like being passionate, and I like sharing that with the world. So why should I be more balanced, more mediocre? But as I got older, I realized there was some wisdom in it, especially as I started growing in my career, as I got married, had kids, had more kids. I realized that there was some truth to the balance, and that maybe a little bit of it was some of my immaturity, but it still rubbed me wrong. It still rubs me wrong. What I've realized is it wasn't so much the concept of balance that I didn't like, it was the imagery. Because I think when most people talk about work-life balance, everyone thinks about a set of scales, and they think about equilibrium, where it's the same on both sides. But that's why I hate it, because to me, that's stagnation. There's nothing great or exciting or passionate about it. Why do I want stagnation? Not only that, that also assumes that my work is exactly equal to my family, to my spirituality, to my health, which I didn't believe. So why are we putting this false image of equilibrium into our brains when really, for me, it wasn't until I was slacklining that I got the right balance, imagery, the right metaphor. And if you've ever been slacklining, you realize that it is a dance. And that's what balance is. That's what work-life balance is. That's what family life balance is. Also, why are we categorizing our life into work and life? There's so much more to us as humans. We're so multifaceted. So why is the only type of balance we're talking about work-life balance? There's so much more, but it's a dance. Balance is a dance. It's an ebb, it's a flow, it's a walking the line, because what happens is you lean too far to one side, and to correct, you have to lean far back to the other side. And that, to me, is what real life is like. That's messy. That's not perfect. That's imperfect. And I think that that's where we need to think about and talk about balance, is this beautiful, imperfect dance. Because when you slackline, the only way you can really stay on the line and not fall off is to balance through movement and micro adjustments. And the only way you can do that is if you're present. You've got to be present, and that's the key. Presence is the key. And quite honestly, I think it was modeled to me best by my dad. My dad worked a ton. He owned his own business, and so he left early in the morning. He came home pretty late, but he was always present when he was around. And I appreciated it, because I knew that when he was there with me, he was there with me. I had friends' dads who worked typical 9-to-5s, but they'd go and weren't present with their family. And I would prefer any day of the week to have a dad who works long hours, but when he's with me, I get connection over having lots of hours where I get no connection. And you can see this, to me, has really played into my vision of balance, is that it's about presence. When I was at work, I was at work. I was present in work. I studied my work. I led my people well. But when I was at home, I wasn't on work. Now, one of the things you have to realize about this, though, is that these ebbs and flows, these back and forths, they're seasonal. And so another key to it is not just being present, but it's about communicating expectations. Having good communication about your expectations with your work, with your family, with your friends. See, my family knew that at the end of quarter, I would not be very present. But when I was with them, whether it was at dinner or we were out listening to music, I wanted to be present. I wasn't gonna be on my phone doing work. I wanted to be with them. But when that time was over, when quarter was done, and I had more time to spend with my family, they got more time. And that back and forth, that ebb and flow, only really works in those important relationships in your life if you communicate the expectations well. If you don't communicate the expectations, then you're going to have discord. You're going to have unmet expectations, and that leads to frustration, that leads to anger, that leads to fighting. So balance, as we talk about it, I think it's a lie. Don't go for equilibrium. Nothing great was ever accomplished by people who were mediocre and who weren't growing and who lived in homeostasis, equilibrium. Greatness, whether in relationships, greatness, whether in health, greatness, whether in business or in sales, came from people who were present and passionate. People who were present. They were working on their work. They were working on their relationships. And that is how I like to see balance. Not equilibrium, but a dance. If you do it well, if you do it with presence and intentionally communicate expectations with the people in your life, then I truly believe that you'll be able to walk the line and create something amazing. If you like this video, maybe give it a like, maybe give it a subscribe, completely up to you. This series here, it's just about me getting out in nature. I mean, come on, look at that view. That island out there is gorgeous. And it's just about me sharing the mindsets behind sales, behind success, behind relational success, wealth success, I guess even. We're talking about all these things because what I've seen the difference between those who go far and are successful in their journey in sales have the right mindset. You can teach skills to almost anyone, but it is very difficult to help somebody get past the mental blocks they have, to get into the right mindset they have. That takes a lot of work. That's the hard work. You can't really just buy that in a course. You personally have to do that. You can't pay AI to build a system for you to do that. You have to do it personally. And so these video series are to help us, to help me, to help you get the right mindset around success so that we can serve others and lead well. Hey, buddy. Have a good one. That was kind of weird. I didn't like that ending.